Hello there, everybody. Josh Grant here, the Ag and Natural Resource Agent in Crisp County through the University of Georgia Extension System. I'm here to talk to y'all about a subject that's near and dear to my heart, pollination, and that's because it involves insects. Pollination is a process that is important to all of our plants, regardless as to if they are in our agricultural fields or in our home gardens. So many of our plants that we may be able to think of can be wind-pollinated or self-pollinated, but so many more need the assistance of animals to actually get pollen from flower to flower. These animal pollinators include vertebrates like bats and birds, but also so many of our pollinators are insects: butterflies, bees, wasps, moths, beetles, the list goes on and on. When we think about bees as pollinators, of course our minds go straight to honeybees. They get so much media attention. We line the edges of our agricultural fields with bee boxes that have honeybees in them. They help pollinate our watermelons and our cotton. They also produce honey, that very healthy sweetener that we put in recipes and drinks like teas. But there's actually plenty of native bees. That's right, the honeybee is not native. It's actually from Europe. Apis mellifera is its scientific name. We domesticated that bee, brought it over to North America, and now in a lot of situations, our domesticated honeybees outcompete and damage our native bee population. In North America alone, there's over 4,000 different species of native bees. Those are the pollinators, as well as the other animal pollinators I mentioned that need to be protected. So now that a lot of us are spending so much time out in the yard, I wanted to utilize the garden that I have here in back of me as a platform to discuss pollination and basically what we can do right now in terms of flowering plants to create habitat for some of these native pollinators. Switch the camera to show off this plant that's been fluttering around my face for the past 2 minutes. This is butterfly milkweed. It is a perennial, so it'll grow in and year out. It will die back to the ground in the wintertime. You won't see it, and then it will come back in singular shoots that will eventually branch off and sometimes harden off and get a little woody. They are very attractive to butterflies. Everything I'm going to show you is native to this region. What you see in front of you is New England aster. It can grow very tall, unlike the butterfly milkweed we were just looking at, which can grow up to heights of maybe about 2 feet and maybe can go 2 feet out. This New England aster, which still is very small, has nice purple blooms, can grow up to 6 to 8 feet tall. It can grow 2 to 3 feet wide. It will die down in the winter time and will leave a lot of material, biomass that you're going to have to cut back. But then newly in the year, you will start to see these single spikes come up that will then turn into a nice bush structure. Next, we got purple coneflower. This is another perennial native to the area that likes to bunch up and have vegetation that stays low to the ground. These leaf structures year after year will start to get a little too abundant in one area, and you may actually have to split it up and try to move part of the plant somewhere else. But when it flowers, it will have single stems come up with nice big purple blooms. What we have here, beside the butterfly milkweed there that has not bloomed yet, is plains coreopsis. This is actually an annual. A lot of this plant right here is acting as a biannual, and it didn't completely die off this past winter. Some of it was reseeded, but it's just starting to bud out now. It's going to have a nice yellow flower that is attractive to, I saw beetles, flies, some bees, and butterflies. I wanted to start ending off with salvias. This is a black and blue variety. It's gonna have a bluish purplish flower. It's just starting to bud out now, so we'll see that in the next couple weeks. When it first started putting on new growth, maybe about a month ago, I was concerned how yellow, how lime green yellow it looks, but that's actually the shade that it's supposed to have. so it doesn't necessarily need extra fertilizer. But these were plants that were started in Griffin early February. I ended up pulling out the root systems and brought them back here to Cordial and put them in the ground. And going from that clay to that sand, I was a little concerned, but so far so good. A couple of final notes for y'all about pollination and about site selection. I've got 2 sets of plants that I'm going to be putting in the ground today. I figured I'd share with you before I let you go. I'm going to be planting more butterfly milkweed. Now, I wouldn't necessarily in site selection choose this spot for this milkweed, knowing how tall and how wide it's going to be able to grow, but just for demonstration purposes, I'm usually going to put a hole in the ground a little bit bigger than the pot that it's coming out of. I would crack if it's root bound, crack the root ball a little bit, get it in there so it's about level with the ground, cover it up so that it's got a nice amount of dirt around it, and then of course try to fill it in with a little bit of some kind of mulch or weed plastic. Again, that's going to help, 1, to control the weeds, and 2, to control the moisture around the plant as it gets a little bit of a shock when it gets transplanted, but then it should grow out of it. The last plant I'm going to put in the ground today after I let y'all go is mountain mint. This plant can grow 1 to 3 feet tall and about that same distance wide. So again, I necessarily wouldn't put it next to this large growth of Plains coreopsis, but I would find another spot for it, knowing year in and year out how large it can get. But in closing, really what we're talking about when we're discussing pollination is a way for the plant to produce seed, to reproduce itself, to mix its genes. That's going to happen within the flower, and a lot of the time it happens with the help of animals like insects. What is happening during that process is just the movement of pollen from the male part of the flower to the female part, the stamen to the pistil. That can happen within the flower or from flower to flower. Thank y'all so much. Be safe. And I'm going to go plant some more pollinators.
Stackhouse, your family and consumer science agent for Crisp County, and I'm going to talk about what happens after our pollinators. So Josh shared with you about pollinators, and then he shared with you about our pollination garden that's happening in Crisp County. And so I'm going to share a little bit with you about gardening. This is the garden that it is at my parents' lake house. So we've tilled the land up, we processed it, we got all the plants planted. They all started as seeds, and now you see some of what we got. So I'm going to go through some of the plants of what you get. So the bushes right here to my right, these are our zucchini and our squash plants. So why are those ones we'd want to plant? Well, 1, they're a really good backyard garden plant. They grow real easy, means you've got zucchini and squash. Did you know that zucchini can be a replacement for spaghetti? So you could make the zucchini noodles and have that as your base for your vegetables. That sounds fun, right? So let me show you. Let's see if we can find a zucchini in here. This one looks like it could be about ready. So, we got a zucchini that's ready. So zucchinis start out as small little flowers. So if we come right here, we have a small flower of that's how your zucchini starts. And then if you look right here, it starts to turn into our vegetable. And then as it grows, that flower just eventually fully becomes our zucchini. So the same thing happens with our squashes. So let's see if we can find a squash in here. So if you look in this one, you can see the flowering of the squash. You can see the squash turning into the flowers right here. And then you can see our squash that was very ready to come on off the bush. So these are a good stir fry vegetable. These are a good just vegetable to eat. They're a good, mix them into a bread. There's lots of things that you can do, lots of vitamins, minerals that you get from your zucchini and squash. You're also covering different colors of your rainbow. You're getting a green vegetable, you're getting a yellow vegetable. So squashes are good. So that's what our squash looks like. Then if we look this way in the garden, you're gonna see some weeds. But mixed in those weeds, you're gonna see some other things. So for instance, right here, we've got some lettuce that's ready to come. We got lettuce. So you got your lettuce that's coming right out of your backyard. And we planted a lettuce assortment. Try not to pull the roots up. Give you several different varieties. So you know those mixed greens that you buy in a bag? That's what this is giving you. It's giving you that mixed greens of lettuce. We also planted some arugula in here. So here's what your arugula looks like. That's your arugula plant, which arugula is one of my favorite things to put on a pizza with blueberries and goat cheese and a little bit of chicken, and you have a delicious pizza with some greens. So that's just a little bit of coming out of our garden so far. Then if we walk this way, right here, you've got some beets. So your beets are gonna start to show right around here, right around that basin, when they are ready to go. Right here in this basin. That means, guess what? It's ready to come out of the ground. Whoop, one of them was. One of them wasn't quite ready. So, you got your beet, which beets have some other great attributes. Beets are one thing that, did you know a beet can become hummus for you? So, we'll plant this one back, see how it grows. Then, right here, we're going for broccoli. That's cabbage, then we got broccoli. So, you can see broccoli is an above ground vegetable. So you're starting to see that broccoli, but it's not quite ready for us to pick. Then right here, we have, these are the potatoes, right? Yeah. So these are our potatoes. So the fun thing about potatoes is as they grow, they do the same thing as beets. They start to come out of the ground and you can see the potatoes. They're just starting to pop out as they're ready to be pulled. You got a potato. How fun is it that you get to get your hands dirty and get those things out of your own garden? Those are more collards. Those are collards. So, the important thing is we have a picture that has it all labeled. So make sure you label things. Definitely helps in your backyard gardening. So, if you come along this fence line, we've got our cucumbers starting to come up. So, you got some lovely weeds in the mix. But then we also have our cucumbers. So our cucumbers are like our squash and our zucchini. They're gonna flower first and then they'll become our fruit. I don't think we've got the cucumbers that have come up yet. They're more just our flowering fruits right now. Then if we come to the other side of our little fence here, we've got our green bean line here. So if you see, beans are something that when you're planting them, you have to make sure they've got a place to grow up and twist and spin around, because they're gonna wrap and vine around what you put there. So it's very important to give them that growing space. So when you're going to plant your garden, it's important to pick your space. It's important to know where you're gonna plant it. Are you gonna dig a place in your backyard? Are you gonna do it in some pots and beds? Or how are you gonna maintain it? But this is a great way to have an interactive family. You can plant things like plant a salsa garden, which means that you plant everything you need to make salsa in a garden, and then you're making your own gardening plant. So I'll share with you a little bit about what a raised bed garden looks like. This would be tilling in your backyard and creating that actual raised bed. So right here in the garden, you see there's some weeds and things, but this right here, these are the tops of a carrot. Did you know that your carrots came with tops? Did you also know that your little baby carrots start out as a big carrot and they're cut down to those baby carrot sizes. So carrots are one of those things that are one of your in-ground roots. They grow in the ground, but you see the tops of them. Then we're going to find, on our scavenger hunt, the radishes. That one's a radish, right? Nope, keep going. Oh, this one looks like it overgrew. So, radishes are another of those in-ground ones, and that would be an overgrown radish that did not get picked. But I'll show you what we'll do with our radish that's not picked. Here is a better radish. So radishes are another one of those things that'll give you a red color of your rainbow eating. So we got a few other radishes over here. Looks like the radishes, they come in different sizes. Look, we got another one that didn't get picked in time. And that one didn't either. We need to do a little better at picking our radishes. So the point of showing you some of that is, guess what? You do have to pick and maintain your garden every day of checking it and stuff like that. So let me show you what we'll do with these radishes that didn't quite make it to the table. So there are lots of things, and when you're trying to limit some of your waste and food waste, if you're doing a garden or flower bed or anything like that, there's one way you can do it. You do want to make sure you don't keep this in your house. You also don't want it near your house, because you are creating bugs and you are creating somewhat of a smell. But what we are creating is a compost. So right here we have a compost that has been built, and our compost gets any and all fruits, vegetables, things like that. We keep meats kind of out of it just so you don't introduce that into it, but it does have eggshells in it, coffee and coffee filters, tea and tea filters, just any of those leftover things, banana peels like what you would throw away. But you do see that there are some bugs and things you will get that come along with a compost. But that's okay, that's part of the cycle of creating compost. So these radishes that didn't quite get picked in time, they just get to be added in the compost, and they'll start to become that compost, and you just gotta make sure you chop it up and get your compost all together. And you do have to stir your compost, but that's one way that you can help reduce some of your food waste, because you're not wasting it, you're gonna replenish it. And what's it for? It's so that when we go back to using our garden and our garden needs some soil, our compost has the nutrients that our garden needs to just replenish the nutrients throughout the garden. So we're going to talk a little bit about, that was an in-ground garden. This is a raised bed garden. So your raised bed garden can look a multitude of things. These are raised beds that we built by ourselves, and yes, if you see that there's a gate around us, we live somewhere that we've got to gate stuff off, because deer, turkey, wildlife, they are all about trying to get into what we've planted. And so we have to have places that it will be protected. But if you notice down there, our zucchini was massive. Guess what? This is zucchini too. So if you think about it, plants are going to grow to what you plant them in. And so for the most part, plants are going to grow the size of what you plant them in. So this is our zucchini, squash. We've got some Japanese eggplants up here too, but we also have some peppers, some snackable peppers. So these peppers actually are ready to come off. Say that, Doug. So little snackable peppers, and you look at the bottom of your peppers. Did you know that they look different? Actually, these all look the same. So those all have 4. Some of your peppers have 3 on them, and it means one's a male, one's a female. It's the difference, and it means that they've got different purposes of cooking. So these are our tomatoes. So we've got one little one ready. So these are your little tasteable tomatoes. So we've got a lot that should be ready here any day now. But we got about 4 here. That one's not quite there. So your tomatoes start out green, they go to an orangey yellow, then they start to turn a little more red, and then that is what your finished tomato growing looks like. And then over here, you have someone in your household that likes hot, you get hot planted in your gardens. So we have a jalapeno. This is our hot, oh look, there's a bunch of jalapenos right there. This is our hot box for our garden. So helps you keep them separated, because you wouldn't want to grab this instead of this. Be a huge change for your mouth, wouldn't it? And then over here we've got our collard greens, but our collard greens have some friends in there. See the friends? See the friends? We got some friends. See the damage our friends are doing? So if you choose not to use chemicals and things in your garden, you will occasionally see some eating of insects and bugs. You need them to pollinate, you need them, they're good. They can share the garden with you, but you just got to be aware of it, and you may have to pick at some. And then one of the vegetables that we talk a lot about in Crisp County in our programming is kale. So if you've ever been with me in a pre-K class or heard about it, we talk about kale, we taste kale in a smoothie, and then we do something fun with it. See how it's designed? It's a paintbrush for us. So kale is a superfood of all superfoods. It is a good one. You can eat raw, you can eat it in smoothies, you can eat it cooked. So that is what this raised garden looks like. That is what our in garden looks like. It doesn't take a professional to be able to have a garden. You've just gotta maintain water, maintain balance, maintain the weeds. You gotta pick it when things are ready and just maintain it. But one fun thing you can do is, if you like salsa, everyone likes salsa, you can make your own salsa garden. So you just have to plant jalapenos, tomatoes, maybe some onions, cilantro, peppers. Those are the things that will make a salsa garden. And then you're just growing your own salsa garden in your backyard for those tacos that you're gonna eat on Tuesdays, right? So that's just one suggestion. If you've got other questions, feel free to reach out and contact either Josh or myself for some of those gardening tips, insect tips, or pollination. Reach out, and we look forward to helping you with your backyard garden. Have a great day.